Hello, my name is Jason Levy, and I am thrilled to talk to you all today about Great Gray Collective Investment Trusts, or CITs, and retirement policy to help Americans achieve a secure retirement. Before joining Great Gray, I spent 13 years as a lawyer at a large Washington, D.C. law firm. There, I was privileged to be involved in several retirement policy initiatives, including ones that resulted in enactment of legislation, like provisions that were enacted in Secure 2.0. But my bread and butter and the aspect of my practice that I enjoyed the most was advising retirement plans on ERISA investment decisions. It was in that role that I had a front row seat for the secular shift from mutual funds to collective investment trusts. In the last 2 or 3 years of my time at Great Gray, I increasingly attended meetings where advisors would identify a mutual fund that had a corresponding collective investment trust that with the same investment manager and generally a very similar investment strategy, yet the collective investment trust was materially less expensive. And as a result, increasingly, retirement plan fiduciaries would select the CIT. And it was because of seeing that shift that I was so excited to join Great Gray when I had the opportunity. At Great Gray, I help ensure that our collective investment trusts strictly adhere to legal requirements, including ERISA, and I am very privileged to help Great Gray develop retirement policy that aligns with the best financial outcomes for Americans' retirement security. Collective investment trusts, or CITs, are now the most prevalent investment vehicle in defined contribution plans. But what is the most common question that I hear about CITs? What is a CIT? And I get that question a lot, not just when describing my work to friends and family. CITs are pooled investment vehicles, much like mutual funds, except they are governed by fiduciary trustees who are subject to laws and regulations that are specific to the institutional retirement plan market. In my prior role as an ERISA attorney and advisor to defined contribution fiduciary committees, I had a front row seat to the secular shift from mutual funds to collective investment trusts in 401k plans and other participant-directed defined contribution plans. But because of the speed of this shift, it's only natural that there is greater familiarity with mutual funds over CITs. So what are the 3 key drivers for CIT adoption? The first one is lower cost. According to a recent Morningstar study, actively managed collective investment trusts are 60% less expensive than corresponding actively managed mutual funds. Passively managed CITs, 50% less expensive than passively managed mutual funds. Why do these lower fees matter? Well, these lower fees can mean the difference between a financially secure retirement and one that's strapped for cash. Even seemingly small differences in fees can mean tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars in increased retirement income when compounded over the course of a career. The next driver, strict regulation. These cost savings come with, and not at the expense of, strict regulatory oversight and investor protections. CITs are strictly regulated under an overlapping body of laws and regulations, including state or federal banking law, common law, trust and fiduciary obligations, and importantly, Great Gray CITs are subject to ERISA. Under ERISA, the CIT and all investment managers are subject to ERISA's full array of fiduciary obligations, which are described by U.S. courts of appeal as the highest under the law. And finally, a last reason for the rapid adoption of collective investment trusts, well, it's a corresponding rapid decrease in the barriers to access CITs. I vividly recall a conversation I had with a client 5 years ago who asked me, what do I think about CITs? And I said, well, they're great, except only the largest plans can access them. The plans that have $100 million or more to invest in a single investment product. And over the last 5 years, those barriers have completely broken down. Investment minimums have rapidly declined or even been eliminated. And we're at the point now where even the smallest plans can create a diversified investment lineup consisting entirely of collective investment trusts. Given these reduced barriers, it's now more imperative than ever that advisors and decision makers for defined contribution plans consider this investment vehicle and plan lineup decisions. At Great Gray, we're invested in providing education about CITs, and we would encourage you to go to the perspectives page of the Great Gray website to learn more.